Today, we are applying some fundamentals of rock climbing footwork to hiking to save you energy and decrease the likelihood of slipping. Hello, everyone. I'm Jason. Ice axe techniques can be helpful on the Pacific Crest Trail in a high snow year. And by the way, we did a video on that, and I put a link in the description. Weight-saving techniques and gear that backpackers use can be useful to climbers and mountaineers, such as the sleep system I now use for high-altitude and cold weather summits. Another video you can check out. These are just some examples of techniques, equipment, and practices that outdoor disciplines can borrow from each other. Today, I want to share some thoughts on using our feet in specific ways when the hiking gets blocky, slabby, or talus-ridden by borrowing a little bit of know-how from technical rock climbing. First, I want to talk about an experiment I did. One morning, so after a full night's rest, I did a series of step-ups with a 20-pound weight vest on a 46-centimeter plyo box. After 38 steps, my heart rate hit 140 beats per minute, hitting my aerobic zone for heart rate training. The next day, again after a full night's rest, I used the 20 pounds but did step-ups on a 23-centimeter plyo box, half the height of the previous one. I did twice as many steps, 76 of them. That means I did the same vertical gain as the previous day. But my heart rate finished at 122, well within my recovery heart rate zone. So same vertical gain, but less exertion. The lesson? Big steps demand big amounts of oxygen. So one of the things climbers look for are ways to take smaller steps when moving up so that we conserve energy, even if it means taking more total steps. But sometimes taking smaller steps is more precarious, isn't it? You might have a nice flat spot to place your whole foot after that big step, while the smaller steps might demand we use some sloped or small placements. Or maybe there is nothing to choose from that looks like a full-footed placement, no matter how high we step. Well, climbing has to use those kinds of foot placements all the time. Let's start with the sloped rock. Climbers call this slab, meaning there aren't really edges and cracks on the rock surface to use, but you just need to get the friction of the rubber on the bottom of your shoe to grip the rock, what we call smearing. There is technique to this. We want to direct our weight as close to perpendicular to the rock as possible and get as much shoe rubber on the rock as possible. This is about force vectors and friction. If we have a force pushing down on the rock as close to a 90-degree angle as we can get, as long as that force and our foot's friction is sufficient to overcome the force of gravity, we will stay in place. But if we move the force vector, our feet will slide out from under us. So once the slope is steep enough, we need to avoid the temptation to lean into the slope and rather do the opposite. We want to set our hips and weight back, getting our legs to push more directly against the rock. The other advantage of setting our hips back is that it allows us to drop our heels. If we lean forwards, we will be up on our toes, minimizing the amount of rubber on the rock, reducing the friction that is potentially keeping us in place. By dropping our heels, we get more rubber-to-rock contact, increasing friction. This is something we do intuitively in reverse when we head downhill on slab rock, pointing our toes so that we get our whole foot engaged on the rock at the same time. Well, the same principles apply when heading up. Okay, that's slab, but what about when we do have ripples and small edges to help us with traction? Well, now we're talking about edging. And while there are variations to this in climbing, such as outside edging, the broad generalization is that we want to drive our weight through our big toes. In fact, this is a major consideration of how climbing shoes are constructed, with shoe shapes and lasts crafted to drive weight into the big toe to support pushing all of our weight off of this small area. So if we are going to intentionally not use all of our shoe rubber for friction, most often because our entire foot won't fit on the placement, we may want to emphasize the placement of our big toe with a bias towards turning our toes out, so that the big toe becomes what we push off of to maximize efficient power and therefore reduce total energy output and to reduce slips. Finally, let's talk about something that might be counterintuitive when we think about efficiency. Not every step needs to be forward. Sometimes the shorter steps mean we need to push out to the side. This is akin to a climber stemming, using outward opposing forces to keep in balance. A good sideways foot placement may be just what we need to cut a big step in half. This might seem silly to some people. Is he really making a video about how to walk? Well, what constitutes efficient over a 1 kilometer hike with about 1,000 steps, if each step is a meter, is different than what constitutes efficient over 20 kilometers, or for you thru hikers, maybe even a 5,000 kilometer hike that would end up being about 5 million, yes, million, steps. Now, joint impact, slips and stumbles, and cardiovascular exertion are very real due to sheer volume. Maybe thinking consciously about some of these micro choices that come at each step can help reduce some of those potentially negative impacts. Have you noticed any particular choices you make about how you place your feet over long distances that help your efficiency? Let us know about them in the comments. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, and share if you want to support us. For more information, you can go to our website at www.shortguysbetaworks.com. Again, you can check out that video I mentioned about my backpacking-inspired sleep system, or maybe the short series I did on ice axe techniques. We'll see you next week and keep on getting more out of that big outside.